Okay, now yesterday I uploaded a video about Calderdale Council banning books that were critical of transgenderism, and just today this arrived in my inbox, my weekly roundup of news from the Free Speech Union, and they mentioned this as well. But there was one particular, there was one particular thing in here that really disturbed me, and that was the use of the word legal. So here they're saying, censor, hide or limit purchase of gender-critical books. Public libraries told. A number of gender-critical books have been hidden from view at public libraries within the library service of Calderdale Council, a local authority affiliated with the controversial LGBT charity Stonewall. Following receipt of a formal grievance from a single member of staff, Calderdale Council, metropolitan borough, population of, just over 200,000 people, so that's a fair amount of people, removed a variety of books, all critical of gender ideology and transgender activism, from public view at the council's 12 public libraries and placed them out of sight in an off-limits storage space. The books in question include Dr. Joyce's Trance, When Ideology Meets Reality, and Prof. Kathleen Stock's Material Girls, best-selling titles which argue that biological sex is immutable and not altered by self-identification. Earlier this year, the Council's Labour leadership reaffirmed its commitment to Stonewall's Diversity Champion scheme to ensure services that are accessible and inclusive for all. And now, this is not exactly what I was talking about, but this is another example of the language perverted for ideological benefit. Services that are accessible and inclusive for all. Well, it's quite obvious it's not for all, because they have hidden some of the books. And it says here, not just for the people of Calderdale, but for our staff too. So our staff are not the people of Calderdale. So, you have a whole world of interpretation in here. But what you're seeing here is the council talking about the people of Calderdale as being separate from the staff of the libraries. That is, if you are employed by Calderdale Council, you are in another category. That's their attitude. These little things let you know what's going on inside people's heads, That's one thing you can bear in mind. There is a bureaucracy, an aristo-bureaucracy, a bureaucracy, whatever you like to say, and there are the people. Anyway, the services that are accessible and inclusive for all are more to do with the staff than with the people, by the looks of things. It would be troubling enough were this just an egregious one-off aberration, and this is where the Free Speech Union has taught me something. But a guidance document recently issued to libraries across the country cites this DIY censorship method approvingly, while advising staff on how to prevent LGBTQTIQ+ users seeing offensive gender-critical books. This whole situation has arisen because people are worried about this group of alphabet soup here are going to be offended by seeing one of those books on the shelves. The best practice guidance, titled Welcoming LGBTIQ+ Users, advice for public library workers has been shared among council-run public libraries across the country and contains recommendations on how to handle transphobic books. And here we have another thing. What do they mean by transphobic? The meaning is so broad, there's no possibility of accuracy with it anymore. Librarians are urged not to promote works by gender-critical authors and told how to mitigate the risk that LGBT readers might encounter these offensive titles on shelves. I mean, if that isn't absolutely the stereotype of the pearl-clutching gay person, then I don't know what is. And that's, of course, that's phobic, isn't it? However you wish to interpret that. The guidance also suggests that staff limit the number of gender-critical books they stock. And this was produced in 2022 by an Islington, LGBTIQ plus library called Book 28. The document is available on the websites of the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals in Scotland and the charity Libraries Connected, an organisation whose membership includes every library service in England, Wales and Northern Ireland. Now, you know what? I believe that this here is the Islington... oh God, I can't do this again. The Islington Library is... made up of a very small group of people, and somehow they've managed to change the law without changing the law for everybody in the United Kingdom. And that's because the library services, like any other British bureaucratic service right now, is terrified of offending these guys. I'm just not going through that list again. Life's too short. Book 28's founder, Southwark Council librarian Isidore Auerbach-George, drew up the advice with Lambeth librarian Colette Townsend, who recently wrote an article for the trade publication Information Professional on public libraries' response to transphobia when making library stock decisions, and academic Dr. Elizabeth Chapman, whose doctoral thesis was on provision of LGBT-related fiction to children and young people in public libraries. I mean, there's here we have it, three guys with an agenda. Having regretfully noted that such books are legally published, and that's in quotes, which means that they said those words. The authors advise librarians on how best to guard against the sin of biological blasphemy, etc., etc. It's these words, legally published, that really pull me up by the braces. Everything is legally published in the West. It's only in places like the Soviet Union when books weren't legally published, the samizdat books, the books that were on the banned list. And I'm interrupting myself to remind you I'm Granniopteryx and I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. All the links are in the description, as well as links to Twitter and Gab. I let you know when I've uploaded a new video on one of those, so it might be worth subscribing to them. There are also links to donation sites if you wish to use them. I always appreciate that. But I also appreciate very much you clicking that like button. It does help the channel. So, like, share and subscribe. Yeah, check you are subscribed. I've had people telling me YouTube's up to its hijinks with subscriptions again. Okay, back to the book banning. You can have thoughts in the book that are shocking, and so shocking that people might take it to court, but the book itself is legally published. And I don't like this idea of something being legally okay creeping in to our national psyche. If you remember Alison Rose, when she wrote her letter of, I think it was in the letter of apology to Nigel Farage, she talked about his legally held opinions. Again, it's the same thing. Alison Rose has the idea that opinions can be legally held. These people who are working for a library service are talking about legally published books. That is a terrible idea, and we have to get rid of that straight away. It's an awfully corrosive, pernicious, anti-democratic idea to stick that word legally in there. Okay, so the guidance has caused concerns about censorship, with the Free Speech Union General Secretary Toby Young telling the Telegraph, "I'm afraid it's all too typical of the woke left to urge librarians to censor books in the name of inclusion. What's next? Telling libraries to burn works by Kathleen Stock and Helen Joyce because they've dared challenge trans-inclusive dogma." Well, yeah, they will be doing that. Don't worry, some of those books will be burnt or binned or whatever. But it starts with the idea of books being legally published. There is no such thing. Books are published. That's it. And it ends with the FSU asking for anyone who's seen any incidents of this in their libraries to get in touch with them. If you're not a member of the FSU, you really should be. It's a marvellous organisation and doing tremendously good work. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.